little earlier this morning, we spoke to the Treasurer of the Northern Territory, Bill Yan, who confirmed that no, the Aboriginal Art Gallery for Alice Springs would not be going ahead after 9 years back and forth. Now, joining me on the line is a former Labor MLA, long-time Central Australian resident, Scott McConnell. G'day, Scott.
Yeah, good morning, and good morning, listeners.
Long time no speak, and Scott, I know that you have known and been following, been pushing, I guess, at different times in different ways when it comes to the Aboriginal Art Gallery in Alice Springs. What did you make what did you make of the decision when the Treasurer said no, not going ahead?
Look, I commend the Treasurer, Bill Yan, on providing leadership and killing off this project. Because the project had been completely derailed. What we do need to do is still do a project in Central Australia, but clearly that project wasn't tenable. I think it's worth looking a little bit back. I think that there's certainly the case for there to be a National Indigenous Centre in Australia, and I think Alice Springs in Central Australia would be a good place to do that.
Yep.
I was working on a project like that with others many years ago. I think I was looking back through paperwork, I think maybe 2013, we were working on a project. This project was derailed by one person, and he deserves all the credit, Michael Gunner. Michael Gunner derailed this project. He derailed a museum at Miley Point that was a plan of his. He had a plan of a museum in the forecourt of Parliament House. I think it's called State Square.
Yep.
That wasn't delivered, and this project hasn't been delivered. And Michael Gunner deserves the credit for completely derailing this project.
Scott, in what way do you feel he derailed it? Because as you've rightly said there, like we have been talking about this for 9 years, there's been different locations, there's been... No, I guess no one's ever been entirely happy, but how come you credit him with the derailing?
Look, he's 100% behind the derailing, because what the original idea was, when it's a bit of a history lesson, but when TIO was sold, the then Giles government, Territory Insurance Office, was owned by Territory taxpayers, and it was sold. Some of the revenue from that sale was credited towards building a National Indigenous Art and Culture Centre in Alice Springs. $20 million was committed. Then in the lead up to the election, the 2016 election, when Michael Gunner was the opposition leader, he committed a further $50 million towards the project, but he was only interested in the art gallery. He wasn't interested in anything else, just the art gallery. Then he commissioned an expert panel. That expert panel made a recommendation which he just simply ignored, and he proceeded with what made this project untenable, which was locating it on Anzac Oval. So then we have other governments come in. We have the CLP government come in to try and fix that serious Gunner stuff up.
Yep.
And we have the federal member trying to make this project more tenable for the community of Alice Springs and have a greater support. And they're not able to do that because this project was derailed by Michael Gunner.
Goodness me. I mean, Scott, it's a really tough one now, isn't it? In the sense that, people want that tourism in Central Australia and they want to see, I think a lot of people do want to see an Aboriginal art centre or an Aboriginal cultural and art centre in Central Australia. But we just don't seem to be able to get a bloody project off the ground. But then in saying that, they blow out astronomically cost-wise. And, if you can't deliver a project at the funding level that we receive, we're never going to be able to do it properly.
Yes, well, I've been commenting about a ship lift recently, which is a good example.
Yes, yeah.
But also, I think that what's really important is that we do need to remember, just to cool our jets here for a second and remember, we were talking about a piece of nationally significant cultural infrastructure. This is a national project. It was to represent all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people of Australia, not Central Australia or even the Northern Territory, of Australia. And it was derailed by parochial politics, by, the things happening in Alice Springs, and we never got it to have that national focus. Now, what I think we need to do is to just sort of remember we have lost a project that was funded to the value of $200 million.
Yeah.
It did need more money to bring it to its full fruition,
Yep.
but we have lost a significant project. Now, what we need to do as a community in Central Australia and the Northern Territory is reflect on that and look for a road forward. I'm really interested in that road forward, and I still think that Central Australia is a rightful place for a national storytelling of Indigenous contribution to our nation.
Scott, how do you reckon we make that happen? Like, what would it look like from your perspective that would be welcomed by the Alice Springs community and, you know, the broader Northern Territory? But, you know, when we've chopped and changed locations and we've, you know, ultimately, I guess, I don't know, the previous project just became a debacle. How do we stop that from happening again?
Look, we have to listen to the voices of community, both here in Central Australia but also nationally. So the conversation about what this thing will look like as a built element needs to be a national conversation. And then, of course, there needs to be a local conversation about where it's placed and so on. Yep. Alice Springs needs to remember that we need to be respectful to the rest of the nation and show that we have a collaboration here on the ground to be the rightful place to tell this national story. I want to credit Bill Yan, the Treasurer. I appreciate what he's done. I know that he really does care for his electorate and the community of Alice Springs. He's been put in a difficult position. Yep. I also want to thank Marion Scrimgeour. Marion Scrimgeour has provided leadership in this space and is really trying to put this project on track. What we need to do is encourage all our political leaders to work together, to work collaboratively, and try and bring a project together for Central Australia. This could be the most important piece of cultural infrastructure in the nation. We need to try and keep moving forward.
Scott McConnell, good to speak to you this morning. I really appreciate your time.
No worries. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And
we'll talk
great
again
to talk
soon.
to you guys.
You too. Thanks, Scott.